Good morning. It's Friday morning. Today we begin Acts 26. We're not quite at the end of the book, but you can see it from here. Acts 26, and we're going to read 1 through 8. So Agrippa said to Paul, "You have permission to speak for yourself." And Paul stretched out his hand and made his defense. "I consider myself fortunate that it is before you, King Agrippa, I'm going to make my defense today against all the accusations of the Jews, especially because you are familiar with all the customs and controversies of the Jews. Therefore I beg you to listen to me patiently. My manner of life from my youth, spent from the beginning among my own nation and in Jerusalem, is known by all the Jews. They have known for a long time, if they are willing to testify, that according to the strictest party of our religion I have lived as a Pharisee. And now I stand here on trial because of my hope in the promise made by God to our fathers, to which our 12 tribes hope to attain as they earnestly worship night and day. And for this hope I am accused by Jews, O King. Why is it thought incredible by any of you that God raises the dead?" So we're reading basically the first third of Paul's defense before King Agrippa. Remember, Festus had met with Agrippa and said, "Hey, I want you to listen to this guy Paul," and so goes over the accusations against Paul, which aren't much. And then Agrippa gives Paul the chance to speak for himself. So Paul says, "Well, I'm glad that you're here, King, because you know the Jews, you are a Jew, and you understand these things." And he says, this hope that God's promised from way back in the desert has now come to pass. And so why should anybody be surprised? Why should anybody be fighting against it? He's asking these questions. They're rhetorical questions, but he really means it. What's the problem here? And he does this to the king, hoping that the king will take his side and release him. And I think we'll see that he's not as successful as he could be, but he's successful. Okay, so we're going to see that that this works. For his part, Paul says, I've lived in Jerusalem my whole life as a strict Jew, as a Pharisee. So, people know me. They know how I live. They know who I am. They know what I did. What's the problem? If anybody wants to testify to this, if they would be willing to, you could bring them here and they would tell you this. So he says, "Now I stand here on trial because of my hope." He's not on trial because of any crimes. He's on trial, he says, because he has this hope. And what is this hope that Paul has that we share? A line or two later, he says, "Why is it thought incredible by any of you that God raises the dead?" And that's what God does. That's what God did for Jesus, obviously. And that's what God promises to do for us, quite literally at the end of things. He'll raise us. And metaphorically, God does that all the time. God gives new life to things that were faltering and moribund. And so suddenly they have new life. So metaphorically or allegorically, spiritually, we take these, I know all those words mean different things, but we take the resurrection to be one of those kinds of things, that it speaks to the new life that is breathed into us at times. When we have a project that seems to be faltering or something, then all of a sudden a good thing happens and we say, well, okay, so God has given it new life. And God gives us new life all the time. Someone said that eternal life doesn't start after you die, it starts here in this life while you're living it. And that's kind of a good way to think of it. We tend to see our lives as going for 75 years, and then we begin to falter, and then we die, and that's the end of it. Oh, I never got to go to the place I always wanted to visit, India, Thailand, or somewhere. When in fact life goes on forever and gets better and better, so we don't have to worry about what all we didn't get to do here and now. It's a matter of perspective, and I hope that you can have that perspective, at least today, if not for the rest of your life. So think about that, and we'll talk more about it tomorrow when we continue with Paul's defense. Have a great day.